After a flurry of moves of the last 24 hours, are the Denver Nuggets dominating the early portion of NBA free agency? Will Cam Johnson provide a replacement and potentially more for the departing Michael Porter Jr.? And could the return of one of Denver's fan favorite Nuggets finally solve a problem that they've frankly been trying to figure out since he left? All things to come on today's rundown, but we will begin and we will park it firmly in the world of the NBA, where the Denver Nuggets, the team who just a number of weeks ago, as we listened to KSE Vice Chairman Josh Kroenke and co-executive vice presidents Ben Tenzer and John Wallace talk about the limitations that they have, the flexibility that they lack, and really the focus being on the margins of this roster. And as the great Denver sports analyst Jake Shapiro here on our staff just said earlier this morning, this wasn't Margin Porter Jr. This was Michael Porter Jr. that they ship out to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Cam Johnson. They had to staple a 2032 first-round pick that was unprotected to the deal. It was their only first-round pick available to trade at all, and they get it done by shipping that pick along with a core four member, a championship core member, somebody who was firmly established as one of the foundational pieces of this team, is no longer here in Michael Porter Jr. And before we get into maybe the nuances and the specifics of Cam Johnson versus MPJ and things of that nature, I'll just say this. Michael Porter Jr.'s last few years since winning the title have come with some complications, some frustrations, some lack of consistency, and overall, I would say a general souring from the fan base. But let's not let that recency bias cloud the fact or distract from the fact that Michael Porter Jr., by and large, was a success story for the Nuggets. This was a player who was a lottery pick level talent coming out of Mizzou, never reached his full potential in college because of injuries, slipped out of that draft slotting because of those injuries during his lone season in college. And Tim Connolly took a chance on this guy and was willing to take the long road to see the vision through. And Michael Porter Jr. does battle through health concerns and injuries, from his lower back to his lower body and his legs, and the drop foot issue that he dealt with, to the point where you and me and others are Googling and WebMDing symptoms and issues related to this condition that not many people, I would imagine, are super familiar with. He battles through all of that and has a skill set with a 6'10" frame and a shooting ability that is above average by NBA terms. Is it consistent enough? No. But when Michael Porter Jr. shot is falling, he's one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, averaging about 40% from beyond the arc for his career, and basically for last season, just under it. It just wasn't happening consistently enough, and it had gotten to a point post-NBA championship in 2023 when they brought home their first title in franchise history. It got to a point where a fresh start was needed from there, but I don't think it's ultimately a super negative reflection on what MPJ's career as a Nugget should be remembered as. Now, that page has been turned. Ben Tenzer and John Wallace doing something that, according to, when you talk to Michael Malone or Calvin Booth or Josh Kroenke, frankly, prior to a lot of this, made you feel was almost impossible. Shaving off a member of a championship core in order to try to spread that contract, which MPJ was due about $38 million coming up on his extension that goes through the 26-27 season, and turning that into a $21 million Cam Johnson, somebody who, from a shooting perspective, can offer you at a minimum the same, if not more, than what you were getting for Michael Porter Jr. Does carry some injury concerns of his own, but is a much better player with the basketball in his hands, much more adept to create his own shot and be a facilitator to keep the offense moving and fluid, which is such a cornerstone of a Jokic-centric offense, and also gives you more on the other end of the court on the defensive side, where Michael Porter Jr., despite a 6'10 frame that he beefed up on a little bit, just never seemed to give you what you thought you should or could get from a player of his caliber. This signifies to me two things. One, I raised my hand earlier this morning sitting across from Brandon Stokely on our morning show and said, I think I may have been a little too quick to judgment when it comes to the efficacy and the ability of a Ben Tenzer and a John Wallace, co-executive vice presidents over player personnel and basketball operations, and doubted too strongly maybe their ability to jump right in and get things done in a gotta have it, high pressure, high stakes window that the Denver Nuggets, in my opinion, find themselves in to try to maintain championship contending status in the prime of Nikola Jokic. Because not only did they make a move, a bold one, to shave off a member of a championship core, they offloaded a contract that aged very poorly with the new CBA structure and the first apron, second apron, luxury tax setup. They bring in a comparable shooter, somebody who's better on the defensive end and somebody who can be a little bit better of a shot creator within an offense than MPJ. And they do it all at the cost of essentially a 2032 first-round pick for somebody who at this moment in time is likely an 11-year-old kid. We can worry about 2032 in 2030 and 2031. The Nuggets need to try to win a championship now, and this move showed that Ben Tenzer, John Wallace, the new era, the new regime in Denver who are calling the shots up there in the front office, believe that as well. And that's a positive thing, in my opinion, because there were moves and sentiments and vibes coming out of that team that maybe we weren't 100% sure they were on the same page as people in the media and those in the fan base who seem to see it very clearly. So for Cam Johnson to step in alongside the likes of Aaron Gordon and MPJ and Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, I am highly optimistic in this moment in time right now on paper, which is all we have to go off of right now, that Cam Johnson can step in and be a better, more consistent version of the type of player we were hoping to get from Michael Porter Jr. He does have some injury concerns throughout his career of himself, but he is by all accounts a great person, a high IQ player, a high basketball IQ player, and somebody who should, in theory, present the proper traits to flourish and to thrive alongside the ultimate distributor in the NBA world that is Nikola Jokic. Cam Johnson seems to echo those sentiments when he was asked in the early hours after the trade how he was feeling about the prospect of coming to Denver. He said, quote, "I'm excited to compete for a championship. It's a new beginning." This is a player who spent a lot of time with the Phoenix Suns, went east to Brooklyn to play for the Nets, and has proven to be a positive role player in both of those stops. And the fact that he still views the Denver Nuggets as championship contenders, something that Russell Westbrook maybe doesn't feel as strongly about as he did a couple of years ago in terms of reasons why he might have declined his option to test the waters in free agency elsewhere as he looks for year 18 in the NBA. I think it's still a sign of how the Nuggets are viewed amongst the players around the league outside of the state of Colorado. And it's a good frame of reference for us in the media and us as fans to remind ourselves that this team still can and should be competing for another Larry O'Brien trophy. A move that can help them do that is something that came after the blockbuster trade that happened just after 4 o'clock or so with Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Johnson. And that was the return, the bringing back of Cowboy Brucey B, Bruce Brown, the guy that Michael Malone was drunkenly standing on the steps of the Capitol talking about running it back and he's not going anywhere. And Bruce, just a all-time fan favorite level player, somebody who came in alongside Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, one of the bright spots in terms of acquisitions in Calvin Booth's tenure as general manager, that legitimately helped the Denver Nuggets core four get over that second round hump, get back to the Western Conference Finals, through the Western Conference Finals, and ultimately cruise their way to an NBA championship for the first time in franchise history. Bruce Brown was a big piece of that. It is his only experience as a Denver Nugget was that 2022-2023 season. He chases a bag, gets paid a hefty price tag by the Indiana Pacers, who then ship him to Toronto in exchange for Pascal Siakam, who helps them compete for an NBA championship just this past season, ends up in New Orleans after buyouts and kind of goes through that spin cycle, which you're never going to fault on somebody or hate on somebody for chasing a bag, getting their money, especially when the contracts are as inflated and as fully guaranteed as they are in the NBA. But Bruce Brown coming back to Denver and really never losing his love affair with the city or the state or the team over that time, posting himself on social media wearing Colorado Avalanche gear, wearing Nuggets gear as he did, posting a photo of himself from his 2022-2023 season here in Denver after the signing in celebration of coming back. But showing up courtside at games, going to concerts, talking about them on Twitter, visiting the state while playing for other teams. Bruce Brown has not and never did lose an affinity for the city of Denver, for the state of Colorado, and for the Denver Nuggets by extension. And him signing a vet minimum contract, similar to what Russell Westbrook signed when he came here, shows that Bruce Brown, at least for this single season, this time being, is putting aside the thought of getting as much money as he can, maximizing his financial opportunities, and is focused and geared on getting back to winning with a core group of players that he did it with and bonded with in the process. So what role will Bruce Brown serve in his second act with the Denver Nuggets? I'm not 100% sure. He was a spark plug, six-man type of player off the bench. He brought in a grit and a swagger and an intensity, especially on the defensive side of the court, that I think the Nuggets had a hard time replacing, especially with Christian Brown now called up into the starting lineup to replace KCP. And I think that profiles similarly to what he can be and what we should maybe expect from him in act number 2 with the Nuggets, to be that player like Russell Westbrook was in the regular season, who came off the bench a lot because of injury. And we'll see if maybe some load management and some things help in that area under David Adelman. But also as a part of your playoff rotation, somebody that can come in and spell Jamal Murray or play your backup 2 guard if they can use one of their 2 remaining roster spots to bring in a true backup point guard. Bruce Brown to be your backup 2 or maybe even 3 and help run that second unit alongside whoever else may be coming along as free agency continues. And as Jake Shapiro pointed out earlier this morning to Stokely and I, there is a world where Cam Johnson slides in to Michael Porter Jr.'s spot in the starting lineup. It's a starting caliber NBA player. You get an added development alongside Julian Strother and Jalen Pickett. Deron Holmes works back into the fold in the regular season to help spell Nikola Jokic and now Jonas Valanciunas into the starting lineup in the regular season. And come playoff time, if Strother continues to develop and you have Payton Watson and Bruce Brown and Jalen Pickett potentially as rotational back-end rotation guys, plus players and veterans to be named, I assume, as free agency looms on, that Bruce Brown might be your 7th, 8th guy off the bench, and you can kind of quote-unquote decipher what it means to be the 6 versus the 7 versus the 8. But I think overall, the depth concerns that the Denver Nuggets have had in the regular season and especially in the postseason with the addition of Bruce Brown on a vet minimum contract, with the swapping of Dario Saric for Jonas Valanciunas, they're becoming less of an issue, in my opinion, on paper heading into this 2025 season. And really that not alone, because the lack of three-point shooting and the inability to play defense at times certainly contributed negatively to the Nuggets' ultimate season result, but the lack of depth and just the grind that the starting 5, the heavy 5, was having to endure over the course of a long NBA season, it just proved to be too much, and this was a large step in the right direction to correcting that. NBA free agency is going to roll on. The aggressive as ever Denver Nuggets may just have more moves up their sleeve as the summer rolls along. And the Avalanche are getting things underway, re-signing Parker Kelly on a $1.7 million average annual value deal, letting Ryan Lindgren walk in free agency, who ends up signing elsewhere, and making moves of their own to potentially try and keep pace in a loaded Western Conference in their own right. So many things to come as we push forward to a holiday week with the 4th of July right around the corner, and we will be here to chronicle it all with you. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you have your sports and information to consume, we have it there for you, chiefly at DenverSports.com and spreading out across all of our social media channels at DenverSports 1043, at DEN Sports 1043. We will see you at the same time in the same place tomorrow. I do what I love what I do.